First of all, greetings to everyone, and also like to wish series of Happy New Year. I think one is about to come. When this teaching was requested, originally I thought of talking about the Vipassana. What else? That's the one thing that is being taught over and over. And also it is probably one of the unique technique, unique to Buddhism. I mean, I guess part of me also wants to do this because there's all kinds of mindfulness exercise that is mushrooming up from all parts of the world. And as a Buddhist, I have this concern that the very idea and the essence of Vipassana could get lost in trying to make it accessible. Sometimes we pour too much water and then we lose the essential taste. Then I added the sadhana just as probably it's a bit of a teasing, because sadhana is a very Mahayana. In fact, it's a very tantric term. The term sadhana, I think, is used both by Buddhist Tantra and also it is very much found in the Hindu Tantra. I decided to tie this up together because the quintessence, sort of the core, if you like, backbone or the blood or the element of sadhana is none other than Vipassana. Although many times, because the nature of the sadhana, especially at times, appear to be very religious, involving ceremonies, involving things like simple mundane things like offering flowers, incense, or even sitting on a dead body and meditating days and nights. And so the sadhana can and has appeared as a ritual. And sometimes that, because of that, the essential point of the sadhana, especially in Buddhism, the Vipassana gets lost. So this is why I sort of just want to tease ourselves and remind ourselves that sadhana and the Vipassana really has to come together. So hopefully we can come to this later. But let us first talk about the Vipassana. Vipassana is really, really vast. It's infinite. Of course, now it is sort of coming down to this Buddhist practice of sitting straight, being mindful of, I don't know, environment, surroundings, breath, and then some more advanced level of technique. So for a lot of the people, I think Vipassana is something to do with meditation, as in sitting. And I think this is depriving the whole world of Vipassana. So hopefully, hopefully this time we can sort of open our eyes, open our mind, and approach Vipassana in a much more sort of abundant and infinite way. As the word Vipassana indicates, it is something to do with seeing, having the insight. Let me try to explain this in a more mundane, day-to-day level. This is what the Buddhists think. In our day-to-day life, when we interact with our life, usually we always have a one or two narrow angle. We just never have a bird's eyes view. So in this case, in this sense, you are always having a very distorted, partial, biased, with a lot of prejudice. Yeah, you don't have the full picture. In many ways, you can actually, to make us understand the Vipassana, depth of Vipassana, I think we could translate the Vipassana as a technique to see the world and our life, but full picture, not just partially, full picture. Also, the idea of Vipassana has something to do with direct experience. Usually when we interact with life, and I'm talking about every aspect of life, let's say the most important part of our life, what is it? It's me, self, I. When we interact with me, like this man or whoever, we interact using all kinds of rational thinking, logic, rational, probably science, and of course, a bit of an empirical or experience. So when we look at ourselves through reason, through logic, through, through language, through culture, we are never really experiencing ourselves directly. So for instance, like, I'm a man. This gender, man, the decision, conclusion that I'm a man has come, I've come to this conclusion that I'm a man based on all kinds of reasons, such as the consensus says so. Others think that I'm a man. My parents raised me as a man. And then biologically, I'm a man. So, there is never a direct experience. So Vipassana also, if you want to translate Vipassana in another way, it is also, you can translate this as a technique to experience life directly. Okay, so Vipassana, how to view life, not just life, everything, how to view things with full picture, not just partial picture, or how to look at life directly without using any kinds of references. This is probably one good way to understand what Vipassana is. And I think if we can build that foundation, Vipassana is not just watching, breathing in and out. Vipassana is so much. It's really, it's even more than a science. It's a direct experience. Now, with that in mind, since part of our conversation is about sadhana. Sadhana basically means it's a skill, it's a technique, it is a trick, actually. It's a trick, it's a technique, it's a means to, there's usually a goal. Sadhana always has a goal. So the sadhana is a systematic means to achieve whatever the goal. So in the Vipassana context, the goal is to have a direct experience, full picture. Okay, even me looking at this flower that is in front of me, am I really having a direct experience with this flower? Why I even consider this as a flower? See, I have a cultural, I've been taught that this is a flower. And then I actually don't even know the name of this flower. Then, this is a pink flower, so on and so forth. So I don't have the direct experience. There's already a prejudice. There's already my view of this flower comes through lots of, filter, lots of interference. So if we are looking at this, looking at the Vipassana as with this definition, then actually, what do we mean by practicing Vipassana? Vipassana or Sadhana, right? So what do we mean by practicing Vipassana? That could mean a lot of things. That could mean even discussing about Vipassana as it is happening right now between you and me. We are talking about real picture, the full picture. We are questioning. Are we seeing things just partially? Are we seeing things through distorted, already conditioned mind? We are already questioning this. This kind of analysis, this kind of critical thinking, you could actually say that this is already a Vipassana practice in progress. In fact, many sutras and the shastras, especially the great scholars, have explained this. But I just want to tell you this because nowadays, a lot of people, when they say, I'm practicing Vipassana, it's usually something to do with the sitting, something to do with like sitting straight and watching breathing or your sensation of your body and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that this is not correct. It is correct. It is very much that, but it is also much more than that. In fact, even longing to see the truth, longing to see the full picture of life is already you could almost say is the beginning of practice or the sadhana of the Vipassana, longing to have the full picture. Now, who doesn't want to have the full picture? Everybody does. But, in one way. Now, this is the schizophrenia aspect of us human beings. There's a part of us, we like to have the full picture. There's a part of us, we want to control everything, especially control our own surrounding, others, if you can. There's a part of us who don't want to be left out, missing out. There's a part of us that wants to, have the direct experience from a small child all the way to the adults. We have that. In fact, most of our insecurity, most of our anxiety comes from this not knowing whether I have the full picture or not. Do I have the full picture of our life? Do I have the full picture of myself? Do I have the full picture of this flower? Whatever. And more importantly, do I have the full picture of some sort of a discursive thought that is happening right this very moment? Now, that is the highest level of thinking, isn't it? That should be considered as a, quest or the path or the sadhana of Vipassana. Okay. Now, Vipassana has a lot of challenge. There's a big challenge here. And the challenge is the opposite of Vipassana. Vipassana, seeing the truth, seeing the real deal, seeing things as what they are. Challenge for that is this habit, this habitual pattern that we have, which is just feeling comfortable and being cozy with seeing not the real thing. This is a problem. And this is a really, really big problem. We are comfortable. We don't want to dig too much. Vipassana is really like digging machine. You dig, and then when you see the whole picture, we have developed this habit of not wanting to see the whole picture. We are too afraid to see the whole picture. We are kind of happy to see sort of one side. That's how the world works. So if you are looking at our sort of human society, education system, political system, I don't know, everything, business, fashion, food, it's all about sufficing with partial truth. The partial truth, somehow we have developed this sort of feeling comfortable with this zone of partial truth. And this is a challenge. This is a challenge for the Vipassana practitioner. But you see, the partial, living life, looking at a partial truth, never really pays off. At the end, because you have been looking at a partial truth, it always leads us to some sort of a disappointment. It always leads us to some sort of anxiety. And then we try to see the real truth. But then the old habit of wanting to go to the, camouflage zone, the comfortable zone, the comfort zone, now that is strong. So this is a Vipassana's biggest challenge. So this comfort zone makes your mind rigid. This comfort zone makes your mind not malleable. This comfort zone actually makes your mind out of control, basically. So this is why when we talk about a Vipassana, many great masters from all the tradition, Theravada, Mahayana, and the Vajrayana, talks about shamatha, which is basically to make the mind malleable, make the mind workable, to sort of battle with this, constant falling to this comfort zone. We apply the shamatha technique. Now, that is probably what a lot of people nowadays may be doing. And then they think that this is a Vipassana. This is possible. I mean, I cannot really discourage doing that. But at one point, it is important that we realize that a shamatha is really meant to make your mind workable, malleable, so that you will be in control. In other words, you will not fall into that comfort zone that I was talking, so that you are longing to see the truth, that you are longing to see the full picture. You are longing to have the direct experience gets unwavered, unfaltered, and uncorrupted. So this is why the shamatha and the Vipassana are always sort of complementary. Okay, so this is just a sort of an overall, how should I say, summary of so-called Vipassana along with the Sadhana. But since I'm assuming that there are a lot of participants today here around the world who are also for the first time probably, or maybe new to this whole Buddhist, path in general, and especially Vipassana, I'm now going to talk about the Vipassana, and I'll try to sort of use less traditional jargon and try to connect this with our day-to-day life, so to speak. Whether you're a monk or a nun, or whether you're a householder, or whether you are children, teenagers, how and why Vipassana and the Shamatha is relevant to you as a human being, and how this could help relating to the world. Okay,